Here we go. All right, welcome, welcome. Class 2, Skillfully Aware. This is Project Skillfully Aware. We are a work in progress, everybody. Today, I want to start off with a review. I know that I hit you with a lot of information last week, and it can feel overwhelming, but I just want you to know that some of the classes are more information rich than others, and some I balance it out with some being more summaries. And so class 1, you know, when you start off on a hill or start off on a journey, getting started always takes a little bit more doing. And so same with this class. It's just going to take a little bit of extra work to get started, but I promise you, you're going to fall into a groove, and that's the way it's going to be with practice, okay? So let's get started, and we'll start with a review of what we talked about last time, and I'll try to wrap it all up so it makes sense to you. The first thing we talked about are called the 3 transcendentals. I titled the slide last time, Focus on Positive, and what I want you to know is we're always in relationship to something. We're in relationship to ourselves, others, and things in the world. So beauty is going to stand in for how we relate to ourselves. It's going to be an intrapersonal experience. A person who looks at a sunset is the one that experiences the beauty of it. And so I'm going to teach you in this class to focus on the improvement in your interior. So that's the beauty part. The goodness is in relationship. That's the we space. And this is where mindful attunement comes in, attuning to yourself and others with care and a wish for a higher good. That's where we're going to amplify goodness. Now the truth, that's how we exist in a physical world that is governed by certain laws. And what I tried to teach you last time is the way that your internal experience, the beauty that you feel or experience, that's governed by laws as well. We'll call those karmic laws. And so we talked about karma last time too, because I want you to understand the truth of how the experience that comes from you, how if you want to shift from, let's say, I'm a person with a really grumpy personality. If you want to shift from having that grumpiness come from you, you need to know how to tune into your subtle interior and really what are the rules governing how to make a future better for yourself. And so beauty, goodness, and truth are the 3 perspectives, the I, the we, and the it, that we're always in relationship to. And the karma is really focused on, wow, how am I relating in a way that makes me feel a certain way inside? Okay, that's how those 2 things relate to each other. I also talked about planting the seeds in your mental continuum to improve, for constant improvement. So we talked about that prospective memory practice, going to bed at night, recalling your day, recall all the beauteous stuff too, and clap yourself on the back for that. But also recall the stuff that don't feel so great about. Resolve, feel that regret, and that is the karmic feeling that comes from creating a gap between how you showed up and how you would like to show up. That's actually helpful developmentally to move away from that sense of regret. Resolve to do it better, so use your power of your imagination and set about the plan in your mind even before you go to sleep. You know, I'm gonna rethink the way I communicate with my wife in this situation, and then rejoice. Think of all the great stuff that you've done. Give yourself some congratulations for being in the practice in the first place. So always end with the rejoicing part. Okay. Then we talked about relaxation breathing. This is your go-to practice. Slow and deep, breathing 5 or fewer times a minute, okay? I won't demonstrate it now because we have limited time. Now, our meditation is only, it's a very simple practice. It's following the breath. And the intention is I'm gonna follow the breath and try to limit the time that my mind wanders, okay? You can do that, play that game, and I'll show you how to get better and better at that. But be kind to yourself. Every beginning meditator's mind is going to wander. What I don't want you to say is, I don't want you to say, I can't meditate, okay? Beginning meditation involves losing contact with the breath, in essence, forgetting, okay? And I gave you a technique called breath counting to keep up and to help you work with your practice. Make sure, set the intention, let me say, to meditate every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, okay? I'm meditating every day, not because I want to tell you I'm meditating every day. I'm meditating every day because it brings so much goodness, beauty, truth, and goodness into my life. Like I'm changing as a person because of my practice. And I want the same for you, okay? And then extra credit, we didn't really talk about this in class. I mentioned it, but it's part of in the Google Drive folder. It's called a virtues log or virtues practice. Check it out. This is, if of everything that I teach, this one practice, tracking your virtues, 3 ways you think, 4 ways you speak, and 3 ways you act with your body. So the 10 virtues, thinking, speaking, and acting, if you begin to track those every day, you're gonna see what are your challenges, you know, where you need improvement, but you're also gonna see where you're really doing well. You will change as a person. If you do this practice alone, your life will change dramatically. In AA, they do something called a 90-90, where they do 90 meetings in 90 days. If you did 90 days of this virtues practice, you will be a different person, I promise you. Okay, that was last week. Now let's talk about the big ideas for this week today. The first idea is I'm going to teach you about living systems. And you may rightly ask, why in the heck are you going to do that? I want to teach you about living systems because you're a living system. And the more, this is really in the truth part, right? Because there's no denying the way a mind-body network works. Your mind-body network and my mind-body network and everybody else is on the planet. The flow of matter, energy, and information, the way it flows through those networks and how the networks evolve is the same, okay? Everybody's different, but the way that life makes itself, there are rules that govern the way life makes itself. And I want to teach you what those rules are, because if you start to understand how your unconscious, maybe trauma from the past, keeps coming up to trigger an emotion, you will start to take it less personally, because you'll know that your system is doing it. You can see the parts acting instead of, oh, I'm just like blaming the whole, like blaming yourself. Okay, that's why I'm teaching you living systems. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to teach you today is I'm going to teach you about the mind. Your mind is also a system. Now, we often we have things on our mind. We don't often experience the mind for what it is, and I'm going to teach you about mind today. So those are the big ideas. All right, so let's get into living systems. And the first thing I want to say about living systems, and you see this this 3 circles here, and the larger circle on the outside, the brown circle, imagine that that's a cell. So 1 cell. I want to reduce everything to 1 cell, and all the way up, all the way to you and all the 100 trillion cells that make you up. Each cell operates
and keeps itself alive. Like right now, every cell in your body knows how to take in the nutrients and the oxygen, and with those materials make proteins and get rid of the waste. Like every cell in your body knows how to keep itself alive, and all of those cellular activities. So in your entire body, every single finger snap, that's like a quintillion cellular activities. All of that is happening by itself. Those are the processes, the actions of the cell. Now, when the actions go forward, what happens is it creates all of that interconnected activity, creates the parts. Now, your heart and your liver and your spleen and your lungs and your circulatory system and your brain and yours, all of those parts emerge with each other. They're co-creating each other and us as a whole. So parts make a whole, and once the whole is activated, patterns emerge. So you can think of just the pattern of your personality, okay? And so in living systems theory, processes are running, you're not doing it. This is called self-making, okay? Your fingernails are growing right now, but you're not growing them. Your heart is beating right now. You are not beating your heart. You are understanding English right now. Well, I should say, your system is understanding English. If I asked you, please stop understanding English right now, notice that it's impossible. It's because your system's doing it all by itself. You can't not see me, you can't not hear me, you can't not have sensations in your body or thoughts flow through your mind. All of it, all of the quintillions of actions in your mind-body network are happening by themselves. This is self-making. And the way a network makes itself becomes a pattern in and of itself. And so let's say I have depression, okay? Let's say that's one of my patterns. Well, the depression may have arisen as a result of infinite causes in the past. We talked about the karma, right? You're relating to yourself, or you're relating to others, and you're relating to a wider world. And in all of those relationships, there's a mind that develops in a narrative, like a story. And let's say a story of loss emerges that makes you sad, and that becomes your habit. That becomes patterned, and which changes your brain. And now these are the thoughts that you think. You self-make this pattern. Well, you can't wake up tomorrow and not self-make it, because it's not something that you're doing. Your network is doing it. But you learn your way into these things, and you learn your way out of them. So what these states are that create themselves in the language of living systems, they're called attractor states. Now, an attractor state is a state that attracts itself. I already mentioned depression. Depression is an attractor, because if you're depressed, that's depressing. But an addiction is also an attractor, because someone who's addicted is looking for something outside of themselves, because there is some emotional experience that they're having that they're not coping healthfully with. They may have been traumatized. They may have not learned in their family of origin how to cope with emotions. And emotions, big emotions, are the drivers of addiction. I can just say craving, because a craving develops. Then the craving is satisfied. And once you develop this habit of the emotion arises because of a system in which you're in, your go-to is this way of coping, which is using a substance or doing a behavior. Then for a time, you feel satisfied, and then maybe part of the pattern is you feel shame afterwards. Then a big emotion rises, and then there's the craving, and then there's the acting out. You see how all of this goes together. All these patterns come together. Now, the thing I want you to understand is every time you do something, your body is recording it. And so an addiction is going to affect the body. If you drink alcohol, you're going to affect your brain and your liver for sure. Every cell in your body, really. But you can't experience unaddictive behavior without changing your brain. So there's always physical effects. Okay, always physical effects. Another example of an attractor, excuse me, is anxiety. And the physical effect, I just put ulcers, but you can have heart palpitations and insomnia. Like there are all kinds of physical downstream effects that arise as a result of being anxious. And if you're afraid of being afraid, that's the match that lights the fire of your anxiety. You see that? And so all of these things on this left column here, all of these are nouns. And that's how we very often relate to the world, very concretely. Anxiety seems like it's a concrete thing. Depression seems like it's a concrete thing. It's a noun, right? Who you are, it's a noun. Hi, I'm depressed, or I'm an addict, whatever, right? It feels so solid. But if you treat this condition, this idea that you have this concrete thing with another concrete remedy, like a pill. And I'm not down on pills, I'm just saying a pill for anxiety is not going to cure anxiety. It can actually lead to downstream effects, but a pill for anxiety may help you manage the symptoms of your anxiety better, which is the power of the pill. It'll lower the feelings associated with the anxiety, so you can do your practice, get a handle, start relating to yourself. Remember the beauty piece? You start relating to yourself and others and the world differently, beauty, truth, and goodness. And through those relationships, you begin to change how you feel emotionally, and the anxiety can cure that way. But in that second example, you're not taking a noun, you're doing something. And so you're enacting the cure. And so what I'm trying to evangelize here in all the work that I do is how we as humans need to understand that if you want to feel better in the future, you actually have to start doing something different right now. And so where to change, you have to change the verb part, what you do. So then the noun, like your brain, for example, or your body, is better in the future. Do you follow? All right, now if there are any questions, please let me know. I'll keep glancing up if I do see something in chat. Let me really quick, I'm just gonna check. Okay, not anything we need to attend to. I'm not gonna keep the chat box open just in case. All right, so let's move on to the next slide now. All right, so we're already deep into living systems here. And now I'm gonna show you, this is a metaphor. What you're about to see a video of a whirlpool. Now, the whirlpool is a pattern, okay? But the pattern emerged as a result of parts moving in a certain way, processes. So the processes, the flow of the water and the air produce the pattern. Now, so the whirlpool is the noun, but if the processes, the flow of the air and the water stayed the same for an eternity, the pattern's basically going to stay the same. Now, in this video, what you're going to see is you're going to see that the processes, the flow changes, the activity changes, then watch what happens to the pattern, okay? This is telling you something about life right here. Here's how life works. There's a flow, and there are parts, there's a pattern, there's processes. Now watch, the process is changing, the flow is changing, and immediately there's a change in the pattern. The parts are still there, there's water and air, but the pattern of relationship between the water and the air is changing, and it's changing all by itself. You see, no pills needed. If the whirlpool is anxiety, the way this anxiety was cured, or it's an addiction, or it's depression, whatever, it's your habit of parenting your children. It's your habit of relating to yourself and the shame that you're carrying from childhood. It's the pattern of relating to your spouse, your significant other. You know, the push me, pull you, the shadow dance. Whatever the pattern, you have to enact a change in the way you show up, in the activity, okay? And what I'm suggesting is, focus on amplifying beauty inside of you, relating better with yourself, goodness, relating to others in a healthier, kinder, more gentle way, and relating with the world in a way that comports with how the world shows up, the truth part. Beauty, goodness, and truth, okay? The rules of karma are going to help you. The virtues log is going to help you. All of this is part, but I'm giving you evidence for why I'm teaching you what I'm teaching you. Okay, so now I'm going to go further into life and how patterns make themselves. So I love Venn diagrams because it shows relationships, and everything you're in relationship with everything. So now this brown circle that you see, these are the perceptions that arise from your eyes, ears, smell, taste, and touch, your connection to the world. Your relationship to the world is this brown circle. And then because you relate to the world, you have thoughts about it. That's your relationship to your mind and your thoughts. And then you have a body that feels into this world. Now, in all of these intersecting circles, this Venn diagram, all of this energy and information is interacting with all the others. So the parts are interdependently linked with the whole. Okay, so all of these interactions are creating a meta pattern. The pattern of me. Okay, this internal, that triangle in the middle, that's the sense of I that shows up, that either has a very stable pattern of wellness, like you have created the causes and the conditions, very stable and flowing, of health and wellness, because in the past you've created those causes and conditions with intentionality. That's how it works. But on the other hand, if right now things aren't as good as they could be, there are things you can learn and then practice that will sow the seeds for more wholesome, beneficial, more beauty, the beauty in the sense of you'll feel it, and in your relationships more goodness, because you're more aligned with the truth of how things work. Do you see? All right, so stable patterns of wellness and illness, and this is another way to think about karma and self-making. Last time I said I was going to map this ancient idea about how, what are the rules that cause us to feel the way we do? Is it some external force behind the curtain of reality, or do we influence it by and large? And the answer is we influence it if we know. And so the karma, the feeling, the tone that you're having right now, that's the karma that's coming from you. And you're not actively doing it. It's doing itself. That's the living systems, the truth of living systems living through you. And I'm just equating it with the word karma. So, because it's easier to talk about, okay? And I don't want, I want to teach you the science, but I don't want this to be overly scientific, all right? So any questions about that? I've got the chat view opened. Now we have thoroughly explored the first idea. Please, if there are any questions, I am here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to explore the mind, all right? Now, in the West, and this is changing, but when I first started teaching this class, it was pretty solid that psychologists and psychiatrists and neuroscientists and philosophers of mind really believed in the material basis for the mind, meaning there is a brain that, because of the activity of a brain, that all of a sudden mind emerges. Now, I'm not talking about the electrical activity and the exchange of energy and information. You know, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're having an experience of me right now in this class and what I'm teaching you. But that experience is different than what your brain is doing. Your brain is inside your head and it's a lump of 3 pounds of meat. And there are all kinds of things that we can do to that brain to figure out what it's doing, that truth part, right? There's a truth to that physicality, but there's also a truth to your subjectivity, the experience of being you. And that's the Eastern philosophy of mind. I want to point you in the direction of the experience that you're having. Now, the experience, as you will discover in this class, is arising in 2 different ways. I'm going to teach you how to meditate and see this. The first way is an ultimate way, meaning it's unchanging. One of the best ways to describe the quality of mind is it's very spacious. It's very much like a space. And I'll show you a space right now. So between my hands, there's this, and between my hands, there's this space, right? Now, notice space, this space. Notice it. It's empty. It doesn't have a shape or a size. It goes on forever, right? It's colorless. Well, you can put things in the space of air, right? But in the space of mind, there's nothing there. It's Buddhist meditators use the term merely clear, and the mere means nothing's there. So no quality whatsoever, inherently, ever. And then it has this other weird, super weird quality. It's awake. Like why in the world, how in the world are you having an experience right now? And where is that experience? If you look in your brain, you won't find it. There's no place in the universe, in this physical universe, where you can find your experience. And so the mind is luminous. It has the capacity to know things. So spacious, merely clear, knowing. It's also eternal. It never changes. The quality of mind, this ultimate quality that is present right now, and I'll show you how to experience it. That's present right now was present when you were born and will be present on your deathbed. And it will never have changed no matter what you did your whole life. Okay, but things do come and go through your mind, right? And if what's coming and going through your mind doesn't feel fantastic all the time, that's a good reason to take this class. And so these qualities that change, these are what are called the relative qualities of mind. These are relative events in the mind. Now, the first event that happens all the time, and it's happening right now, is what's called contact. Contact is the fact that you are seeing me. Now, I'm about to snap my fingers. When I do, the moment I do, contact, okay, happened, came and went, and you were powerless. This is what we're really powerless over. We're powerless over contact. Contact is happening all the time. There's a flow, a constant flow of energy and information and matter through the system. Now, because we are attuned, relationally attuned to wanting things to be better and relieving our own suffering, we come already pre-programmed with a way to discern, oh, I like this and I don't like this. And we discern it first through our body feelings. The feeling of, oh, yummy, that's awesome, or yuck, I hate that. That attraction and repulsion comes innately in every living being, even a one-celled organism. So after contact, there's going to be feeling. And the feeling, I'm going to teach you to notice, begin to notice the feeling in your body. When you really learn how to attune to yourself and others in situations with acceptance and care and a wish for a higher good, you are intimately connected to the feeling space of your body. You will accelerate your development if you start tuning in to your feeling space, the yum and the yuck, okay? And sometimes it's hard. Don't always take yum and yuck as absolute, like I really like this, therefore go get it, or I really hate this, therefore move away from it. Oftentimes we grow up with distorted appreciation for certain circumstances and what they offer. And so sometimes we have to work with, I don't like this, and it gets better, all right? And so you're gonna have feelings sometimes in relationship with yourself and other people where you're like, forget this, but oftentimes it's constructive and developmental that you lean into that, okay? So I'm going to ask you to trust your feelings, okay? Don't get me wrong, but sometimes feelings are distorted based on our past programming. All right, but everybody else, every one of us also has a discriminating mind, a mind where the story starts. Okay, this is another aspect of being human. You get triggered by something, that's the contact. Then you get the feeling, and then right after, immediately after the feeling, there's a story in your head. Oh, I like this thing, or I can't stand this thing. The judgments that come from you, right? You know, somebody's not wearing their mask at Trader Joe's and they're standing too close, and you get triggered by it. Okay, there's a feeling of uh-oh, and then all of a sudden the narrative, that's the discrimination piece. Watch that in you, okay? And then notice how when the story starts, your attention really goes towards that story, okay? That's the thing I want you to see. We'll get triggered, we'll have feeling, the story will start, and whoop, our attention goes, we narrow down, and we can get stuck. Now, what I'm teaching you to do is I'm teaching you to wake up during this process through your intentions. Now, setting the intention before you go to sleep tonight, I'm going to do my prospective memory practice. What's that good for? Well, it's good for waking up during the day. The next time a similar thing happens, you're like, oh, I'm going to be different. You have to be intentional first because contact is going to happen by itself. It's self-making. You're not in control. And the way you're programmed is going to cause the feelings to emerge. You're not in control of the feelings that come from you. That's the karma that's already baked into the cake of you. It's rising out of you, right? And then usually the story starts, but you have, and this all happens within a tenth of a second, but the discrimination piece, the mindfulness piece can follow on about a half a second later. And so it's always going to be behind the impulsiveness. But if you set an intention to pay attention, to catch these moments, you'll start catching yourself. And that's how you unwind a depression or anxiety or an addiction or the way you parent your kids or the way you interact with your boss at work. It doesn't matter, but you have to begin to start setting intentions. Okay, so the mind, ultimate qualities, relative qualities. Now, another metaphor, okay? I'm going to show you, this is another water metaphor. I like water metaphors. I'm going to show you a video of a pond. Now, this pond, I'll just talk my way through it. This pond is ultimately, this pond the surface of the pond is flat, okay, completely flat. But as the drops fall into it, notice that everything's recorded perfectly. All the energy and the information and the matter affect the system. And it just keeps flowing, right? But if the drops stop, the nature of the mind itself, the ultimate nature of the mind, as empty, as no thing, reveals itself, right? And that's what we're trying to do in meditation. Don't try too hard, because then that's like trying to settle the pond by putting your hands on it. Okay, you can try way too hard to settle your mind down in meditation, and I advise you to stop doing it. I advise you, when you meditate, to just watch and set intentions to limit the time that your mind wanders. Okay, that you can do. All right, so any questions on mind? Any questions on mind yet? No, we all good? Let me check in the chat. No, all right. Okay, so now let me go further into the metaphor space and try to tell you what mind is like. So mind, I've already said, is like space. Now here's how our mind, or you could say consciousness, functions. It functions in two ways. And see the little eyes and nose there? That's my symbol for the sense of you inside of yourself, the watcher, okay? Now, when we're relating with something, anything, we pay attention to that thing. And so one of the qualities of consciousness is the quality of attention. And attention is very much like a flashlight. You shine a light on one discrete thing and you discern its qualities. Okay, you're more conscious of something that you shine a flashlight on. Now, and you have influence over where you pay attention. Okay, I want you to know that you have influence. I didn't say control, because you also have karmic patterns of where your attention goes. Like let's say if I were an alcoholic, basically if I take on that label, I'm telling the world that I have a habit of paying attention to that, to alcohol. And so inside my mind-body network, there's already a self-making pattern that will eventually, under certain circumstances, not all, but certain, turn my attention towards that substance and behavior, right? So that's what I'm saying. If I say I'm depressed, then what I'm telling the world is my attention goes towards thoughts of loss and despair and hopelessness. Okay, that's what you're saying. You're telling a person what your attention is doing, okay? And it's good to know, oh gosh, I have this habit of attention. But we not only have attention, we also have awareness. Now, awareness is different. Awareness is not like a flashlight that shines on one thing. Awareness is much more like sunlight that shines in all directions, okay? Awareness shines into the world, okay? You're all sitting in a room, presumably. You can see and hear it and experience it with your body. And so you're aware of the world through your senses. But you can also be aware of the inside of your body and the feeling states, and also aware of what you might be thinking in your mind. And so there's a world, there's a body, and there's a mind. And all three, even though these are separate words, all three are connected, and there is no boundary between. When we're talking about awareness, there is no boundary between the world, body, and mind. It's all one whole space of awareness. I'm going to show you this in meditation. Okay? And when you understand that these three parts interact, you'll start to see the interactions and the habits that come, the habits of activity that come from their interaction. All right? So, how do we become more mindful? Well, we place our attention consciously. So right now, let me guide you to pay attention. We're going to do a little mindfulness exercise right now, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to consciously pay attention to the middle of the slide, okay, with your eyes. And you can hear my voice in the background. Stay peripherally aware of the room you're in. I mean, right now, there are windows to my right and a wall to my left. There's a big screen in front of me, right? And I can even see the reflection of myself peripherally in the on the screen. Okay, so I'm aware of the whole space. I want you to become aware of the whole space, if you would, please. Good. And now feel into your body. And I'm going to walk you back into your mind, but now you're becoming more mindful. Place attention and become aware of the whole space. So I want you to keep doing this. I'm going to give you something to focus on now. This is a blue dot, nothing special about it, but just look at it. Look at that blue dot. Notice let your attention like appeal to your attention. Your attention wants to discern the qualities. Notice it's lighter on top and darker on the bottom. Notice if you really hold your eyes still that it looks pixelated. Okay, stay aware of the rest of the room with your eyes and your ears though. Good. And also stay aware of your body. Remember your body and the feelings. So actually tune into the feelings of your feet on the floor, your butt in the seat, the temperature. And if you're feeling curious right now, or whatever the emotion is in that feeling space, notice that. Notice the breath coming in and out of that body of yours. Keep your body very still. So you can just feel what's coming from you without any interruption, like keep your hand off the surface of the pond. Just let yourself observe what's arising. So there's a blue dot, there's a rest of a room, there's a body. And now let me walk you back into the space of your mind. So there is a brain behind your eyes. Okay, there's a brain back there. But notice you can't perceive it. You cannot perceive your brain, but you do perceive awareness behind your eyes, looking through your eyes. There's an awake, there's a luminous presence, your consciousness, looking through your eyes. And it's not named your name, it's just awake. That's the ultimate quality. It's still, it's empty, it's merely clear, it's spacious. And so take it all in right now for a moment. Peripherally, keep your eyes still on the dot, but really melt into the periphery with your awareness. World, body, and mind. Let them unite as one. Just for a moment. Listen to the middle of your head as you listen to me. Feel the parts of your body where there is no feeling. That's the ultimate nature of mind. It's just awake. It connects all three domains, world, body, and mind. And let's set the intention right now, to amplify beauty, meaning beauty in your relationship to you and everything else, how you relate. Let it be a beautiful way. Goodness between you and others and the world at large. And truth, like really discern what's actually happening here. See how life makes itself right now. And so you can see it making itself through you all the time. Then you start having influence on the trajectory of your life. It's all happening right now, if you quiet down enough. Okay, boom. All right. So let's talk about our individual practices for this week, okay? Not much more to add, just a little, okay? I want you, if you would please, to read Module 2, because, and even just a few pages a day, because if you stay in the practice, you're going to be changed by the information and the practices. Remember, it's all about changing the doing. If you want the being to change in the future, you have to change the doing right now. All right, that's the truth of living systems. So read Module 2, highlight what really speaks to you. Keep doing the relaxation breathing, okay? Super important. That's the go-to practice. If you became more attuned to how you breathe every day, you would embody your consciousness more completely. You'd be steering the ship of your life more skillfully. So just tune into your body, regulate your breathing more during the day. Let that be a habit, okay? Please keep doing this perspective memory practice. Before you go to bed, don't let chaos reign. Have some influence over the way the mind is running, because it's going to run. If you don't give it something to do, it's just going to be doing whatever it's doing. But if you give it something wholesome to do, developmental, it'll do that. And then you'll experience the fruit of that activity, okay? It'll help you change. You'll plant the seeds, the karmic seeds, to feel better in the future, interact better, more goodness, more beauty, more truth, okay? Okay, there is a system question I want you to ask yourself. Now, you can do this, the best way to do it is really two ways. One way is formally sit down with a pad of paper next to you and ask yourself, what is stopping the change? So think of the thing that you want to change in your life. Maybe it's, I'm eating too many chocolate chip cookies. Whatever it is, okay? Figure out what that thing is and then ask yourself, what is stopping the change? Then, formally, as you're sitting, write down everything that occurs to you. Maybe even spend 15 minutes doing it. But then don't stop. Get off the cushion, take that pad of paper with you, and keep mulling over that question all day long, and maybe this whole week. What's stopping the change? What is stopping the change? Can anyone right now share an example that just immediately came to mind of what's stopping the change? Any one of you. Procrastination. That's what's stopping the change. Okay, and so then, thank you for that. Being unable to socialize, always being too busy. My childhood programming. Okay, now we're getting, see that? One person shares and then everybody. I love this. Okay, that's a system effect too. Thank you so much, Holly, for being the person who broke the dam. All right, but now, you guys, when you start creating this list, what I want you to do is I want you to drill down a little deeper. And so if you said fear, or if you said being too busy, what's up with that? Okay, so I want you, this is the beauty piece, right? Can you attune to yourself with more clarity and start to become your own best therapist? And the answer is you can, for sure. But this is a great question to begin to ask yourself. All right? So start asking, what's stopping the change? Being unable to socialize is one of them. Fear, okay. Okay, good. All right, so I like that. Thank you for all the the participation there. Okay, so now this, let me move my, I gotta go do this. Okay, daily breath meditation with a twist, all right? So you're still going to meditate on your breath while staying aware. You're gonna meditate on your breath, and here's the intention. I'm gonna follow my breath and try to limit the time that my mind wanders. That's the intention, okay? But now, I had you just focus on the breath. Really, that was an attentional practice. Now we're going to do mindfulness. So I want you to focus on the breath, but I also want you to stay aware. Like we were just doing with the blue dot. I had you focused on the blue dot, but peripherally aware. That's how I want you to meditate. Because I want you to be aware of the interaction of the whole system. Now stay focused. Don't get me wrong. There's breath, and keep coming back to the breath, and there's something that you're trying to do, which is limit the time that your mind wanders. So there really is an agenda, but you're awake as you're doing it. You're not tunnel vision, because we don't want to practice tunnel vision. That's not what mindfulness is. I don't want to teach you to shift from one fixated way of being to another. Attentional practice is great, but mindfulness is better. Okay. Then, so Deborah said, the blue dot made me sleepy. Is that normal? So I will say yes, when you really focus and hold your attention still, if your brain, because remember, this is a system, you're connected to a body. And if that body is actually tired and needs rest, every time you try to meditate and you still your attention and stay aware, excuse me, meditation isn't going to make you sleepy, it's going to reveal your tiredness. Do you follow? And so this is having what's called a dull mind is something that meditators do have to deal with, but we work with distractions first. Okay, and so the alligator at the closest to the boat is the distractions, and then mental dullness is second. Okay, so a quiet mind is hard. Now, so we're not going for a quiet mind. We are playing a game. And the only game we're playing is, I'm going to try to pay attention to this breath and limit the time that my mind wanders. It's a game. And I want you to keep track. If you meditate every day, even for 5 minutes, meditate like a pro when you sit down. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to really focus. Breath, stay aware. So there's a local attention. There's a global awareness. Remember the eyes and the nose? There was a line, and then there was all these rays. So the line is the attention. The long line with the arrow is the attention. And all these rays emanating from the head, that's your awareness. So when you're meditating, do it right now. Look at me locally, look at me, okay? But stay aware of the rest of the space. Now, if you close your eyes, keep it the same, except focus on your breath. Focus on sensations of breath, and then stay aware. You're just trying to limit the time that your mind wanders, okay? That's all you're doing, okay? That's what beginning meditation is, all right? And don't think that it's hard, because just concede your mind's already going to wander. Just play the game, can I reduce the mind wandering? And you certainly can do that. Okay, and it can be even fun to try to, wow, I caught that distraction within a second. Awesome. And give yourself a pat on the back every time you catch your attention starting to wander away. Okay, all righty. Okay, everybody, now real quick, there are extra PDFs. Please check those out. There's the What's Next game. That is an awesome game to play, and you will find the best book for you in the universe if you play that game. And then there's a PDF on equanimity, basically living unconstrained by craving. That's what that's all about. All right, so now next week, what's next week look like? I'm going to put it all together for you next week. Next week's going to be a big summary. I'm going to show you how the values, the perspectives of beauty, goodness, and truth relate to karma and living systems in the mind. I tie it together all the time, but you're going to see I'm going to do it again next week. I'm going to teach you about 3 meditation families. So there's 3 different ways to meditate and when each is best. And then I am going to teach you the Skillfully Aware method. That is basically a systems-based way to meditate that is easy to do and will enable you to relate to yourself, others, in the world in healthier ways. All right, so that's all coming next week. Let's see, is there anything? No, there is not. That is it, you guys. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I'm also available between class 2. My email is mark@skillfullyaware.com. All right. Okay, you guys, it was my pleasure to sit with you. Thank you so much. I will take this, you're welcome, Melissa. I will take this recording and I will place it in the Google Drive folder. It'll be about an hour or so before that happens. Okay, good night, everybody.